my channel. Today, as you can tell by the title, I have a video for you all about the new Tarte Shape Tape. There has been a lot of controversy surrounding these foundations since they dropped, especially concerning the shade range. We'll get a little bit into that later, but if you would like to see how this foundation performs throughout the day, I'm going to be doing a wear test. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. Now, I have both formulas in this foundation. I bought them online, and when you buy them online, there is an option that helps you choose the best shade for your complexion. I put in the same exact information for both formulas, and it came back with two different shades for me. So in the matte, I have the light medium neutral, and in the hydrating, I have the light medium beige. Speaking of the shades that come in this foundation though, I'm a little disappointed. Tarte came out with 15 shades. Tarte isn't really known for their wide shade range. Their widest range is 25, and I think that's on the Amazonian Clay foundation. And even that is not very varied. There's a lot of light shades and then maybe 3 or 4 darker shades. This foundation was a highly anticipated formula, so you would assume that they would really put in the effort to make this the most amazing foundation for everybody, especially with your competition being the Huda Beauty and the Rihanna Fenty, which have over 40 shades in each range. You would expect a little bit more from this. They did announce shortly after the drop that there were 10 more shades coming out soon. To me, that kind of just sounds like they're trying to get themselves out of hot water. But even then, 10 more shades, judging on what they put out in the past, I feel like it's not going to be enough. For now, I'm going to be trying what I have in front of me, letting you guys know what I think about the formula. I'm going to do an all-day wear test to see how it holds up throughout the day, and hopefully within the near future they come out with some better shades so that everybody can enjoy this highly anticipated foundation. I'm going to be doing my makeup like I do every day. I'm going to be using the same products so that I know how they usually perform and what to expect from any foundation. I'm going to put some of my Professional on both sides of my face, and then I'm going to be doing the right side of my face with the matte foundation and the left side of my face with the hydrating foundation. Since I have a couple more breakouts here on this side of my face and this obvious disaster on my forehead, I'm going to be using the matte on this side because it's supposed to be very, very full coverage, where the hydrating one has a little bit more of a natural finish to it. So the matte foundation comes with this purple band around it. Again, like I said, I have this in light medium neutral. It comes with the typical Shape Tape concealer applicator. It's a big doe foot, kind of like the Clinique. It doesn't seem to pick up that much product when you pull it out. Yeah, you're gonna have to dip in a couple of times to really get this to cover everything on your face. On the website, they do suggest using a paddle brush to blend this in, but I never like how brushes apply foundation, so I'm gonna be using my beauty blender instead. Right away, this is blending out very nicely. There are some areas where I would like a little bit more coverage. You can still see my freckles through it, but it is covering up the red from my pimples very nicely. You can already tell without it even being fully dry, it is very, very matte. Up on my forehead, it's getting a little bit difficult to blend out. I think it's drying down really quickly, so you have to work fast with this. But wow, that covered that up pretty nicely. I have you guys zoomed in so you can see how this applied. It looks a little cakey right here around my nose and a little bit on my forehead. It is very, very matte. I already see a little bit of creasing in here, but that's kind of expected. Compared to my bare side, I think that this does look very nice. It looks naturally matte, which is really great. It really blends into the skin well, and it doesn't look too cakey. It covered up my pimples and my discoloration very nicely, but you can still see my freckles through it. So I would say that this is more of a medium to full coverage. You can probably build it up pretty nicely, but with one application, it's more of a medium coverage. We're gonna move on now to the left side of my face using the hydrating formula. This shade I have is in light medium beige. It seems a little bit darker than the matte foundation, but since it is supposed to be a little bit of a lighter coverage, I feel like this is still gonna mesh with my skin very nicely. So just like the matte formula, it has this band up top. The hydrating formula has a blue band where the matte has a purple, and again, it has the typical doe foot applicator. This one is definitely a lot more pink than the matte one, but we'll see what happens when we blend it in. We'll see how it meshes with the skin since it is a more light coverage foundation. So right away I can see that this is a lot lighter than the other side in terms of coverage. It's covering my redness pretty well, but you can still very much so see the freckles and the zits on my face. Just like the other side, it blends out very nicely. It has a nice dewy finish to it. You can really tell looking at the two right now. This is extremely matte compared to this side. To the touch, you can tell this is definitely a lot stickier than the matte side right off the bat. I'm not seeing that creasing around my nose or in my smile line, so I like that a lot more than I like the matte. You can see right here, it's starting to really crease a lot. Zooming you in again, you can see that this side is a lot more dewy than the matte side. There's not as much creasing, especially around the nose, which I really appreciate. I do feel like this side is not drying down as much as the matte side, however, so I'm a little concerned about how that would wear throughout the day with oily skin. But I do really like the coverage of it. I feel like this is something that I would definitely wear on a daily basis. So I'm actually really curious to see what would happen if I mixed the matte and the hydrating foundation together. The matte is a little bit too matte for me, and the hydrating worries me a little bit since I do have oily skin. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this off, I'm gonna mix the two together, and I'm gonna wear that throughout the day. I just washed my face off, put on a little bit more moisturizer and a little bit more of the Professional primer. And now I'm gonna go in with both the matte and hydrating foundation. First, I'm gonna go in with the matte, and I think what I'm gonna do is just put a couple of stripes of each and fill in the gaps using the hydrating. So you can really tell the difference when they're right next to each other between the colors. The one is extremely yellow and the other is extremely pink. I have a clean beauty blender here. I'm gonna go over my whole face and blend these colors together and hope that this turns out okay. Immediately I can tell you that this is probably my favorite coverage of this foundation. It's matte, but not too matte. You don't have that creasing anymore in the nose or on my smile lines. So I'm pretty happy about that. We'll see how this wears throughout the day. Since we're using the Shape Tape foundation, I of course have to use my Shape Tape concealer. I am light neutral in this. I'm not crazy about the concealer. I feel like it is a little bit drying for under my eyes, but we're gonna see, since these were obviously made to go together, maybe it'll work better with this foundation. That went on pretty nicely. It's not that much different than with any other foundation. It does look a little bit cakey right in here where I'm very wrinkly under my eyes. But overall, the rest of the face, it blended out pretty nicely. You do have to be careful because it is a really thick concealer. You really want to bounce your beauty blender. You don't really want to swipe because it's just going to pull the foundation under it off. I'm going to set my entire face using my Laura Mercier powder, finish up the rest of my makeup, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just put on some very basic face makeup. I will say that all of the powders that I used blended in really, really nicely with this foundation. There's no lifting of the foundation, no patchiness. It all went on really nicely, and once I set my face, everything really mended together really, really nicely. I think that by mixing the two formulas together, I got a really nice finish with it. I have a little bit of a dewiness going on, but it's not too oil slicky, and it's also not too cake face. We got some really nice full coverage out of it. You can't really see the pimples that much anymore. You still see a bump, obviously, because they're like mountains on my face. I would like to note, though, I did end up wiping the foundation off of my eyelids. It really started to crease really badly, so I wiped that off and I used a little bit of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer to cover up any discoloration on my lids. I really do not like the Shape Tape concealer on my lids either. It does the same thing as the foundation. It creases like crazy if you have oily lids. I would also like to say that in my eyes right here, I am looking a little bit dry and cakey. I blame that on the concealer. I've always had this problem with this. It's not too bad. It does still look really nice, but I do have other concealers that I feel cover that up a little bit better. So let's get on with the day and see what happens. Update time. It is currently 4:30. This is about 5.5 hours after I put my makeup on, and this is what it looks like after 5 hours. I'm definitely a little oily up in here and around my nose. I was having some problems all day with some dry patches on my nose. The foundation was really clinging to it, and I kind of had to like peel those pieces off. But right now it's looking pretty good. I'm happy with the finish of the foundation right now. Aside from this oiliness, that's normal for me. I have to touch my makeup up. I'm just gonna take a beauty blender from before. This is dry, it's not even wet, and I'm gonna go over the areas where I'm finding it a little bit more oily. And I'm just gonna kind of smooth that out, absorb some of the oils. And just like that, it's all better. So I'm gonna continue wearing this. I have some more errands that I need to run tonight, and I will check back in with you guys way later. Alright guys, I am back for my final check-in. It is now 10:46 at night. A couple shirt changes later, a couple more errands later, and I am looking very, very oily. As you saw, I touched up a little bit this afternoon. Didn't add any powder, just kind of blotted the oil away, and I think that I definitely could have used some powder. Overall, I would say that I'm pretty impressed with how this held up throughout the day, especially for no touch-ups with really oily skin. It's not really separating or blotching or falling off in any places, so I'm pretty impressed with that. To give you guys a close-up of what's going on here, you can see I'm very, very oily in my forehead and on my cheeks around my nose, but that is pretty standard for any foundation with me, especially not touching it up. Overall, I think this is definitely a foundation I'm going to be reaching for. Both the matte and the hydrating, I think they work well together, but also I think they'll be very nice separately. Judging by how oily I got, I think the matte would hold up really nice on my skin, and the hydrating I think would be a really great everyday foundation, but it's going to require some touch-ups throughout the day. And that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments if you think you're going to go out and try either of these formulas. Before you go, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you like content like this, and hit that big red subscribe button right down below to see more videos like this from me every week. Share this video with your friends, your family, whoever you think would like it, and until next time, bye guys!